Vamos então dar início a esta sessão 2, que tem como tema Passivhaus e as alterações climáticas. Estamos já um pouco em cima ou fora da hora e, portanto, eu vou pedir aos nossos oradores para tentarem ser o mais concisos possíveis e, portanto, eu iria apresentar, os oradores que estão presentes neste painel. Vamos ter primeiro uma intervenção em inglês do Dr. Günter, que vai, enfim, representar Passivhaus Áustria e que nos vai falar sobre edifícios energeticamente eficientes relacionados com esta questão das alterações climáticas e a oportunidade que eles representam para mitigar precisamente os efeitos das alterações climáticas. Seguidamente, iremos ter uma intervenção do professor Manuel Eduardo Pinheiro, do Instituto Superior Técnico, que tem, enfim, sido responsável pela criação e desenvolvimento do sistema LIDER, um sistema de avaliação de sustentabilidade em edifícios, que tem vindo a expandir e que fará aqui, precisamente centrado nestas abordagens do sistema LIDER, uma intervenção que relaciona também os edifícios com os efeitos gerados pelas alterações climáticas. E, finalmente, teremos da Quercus, a intervenção da Filipa Alves, também pegando na questão do binómio energia-alterações climáticas e finalmente, uma intervenção que será por vídeo. O João Gavião irá aqui dar uma ajuda de Tom Chalco, portanto, um cientista australiano da Scientific Engineering Research e que nos falará também do problema do aquecimento global. Vamos tentar ser o mais concisos e rápidos para depois deixar no fim de cada apresentação a possibilidade de fazerem aqui uma ou duas questões, sabendo que depois iremos estar aqui ao longo do dia também enfim, conhecer e relacionar-se com os oradores deste painel. Portanto, Mr. Günter, thank you very much for your presence. I've just introduced you in Portuguese, so if you want to start your presentation here, please do. We'll have, in the end of the presentation, the possibility of the public to make some questions to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. First, the good news. Very energy efficient building can and will have a very big impact for mitigation in climate change. I haven't known that before they spoke about a school building here in the city, which will be very important, but that is my first slide, and it shows one of many school buildings we have built in Austria to Passivhaus standard. You see, you can do it also with a very nice architecture design, and what you see, the climate inside is very well. You can see the pupils which are very happy, which are spring up and show that it's well to have such a good climate indoors. So it's not only important to have a very low energy demand in the building, also to have a very good climate inside. And when you build it in such a way, you will be a part that the climate outside will help us also on a better way. And first I will start to show the past, what happened in the last 800,000 years. Some peoples like George Bush have told us climate change always has happened. What is new now? I will tell you and show you. 800,000 years ago we have high temperature and CO2 emissions by 280 ppm, and then it comes down to 100 ppm. So all 100,000 years it goes up and down, the CO2 concentration, and in the same time you can see that CO2 and the temperature are related. And it happened 8 times over the 100,000 years. But then, in the time when George Bush was born, in the last 60 years, what crazy happened? The CO2 emissions rise up and doubled as it was before all these 800,000 years. And that is why the temperature now on this planet is also rising up in a very quickly time and higher than over the last 800,000 years. And that extremely situation, we have to understand that it's our life, that it's the life from our children, which we will destroy when we don't act now. And so, sorry, I have to change now. I have blonde hair now. I'm Diana Oege-Vorsatz now for the next 20 minutes because she couldn't speak here. I will present her speech. So what you hear now is not my mining. I know it's also my mining, but it's her mining. And listen what she will tell you. Well regards. She is sorry that she cannot be here. She is the vice chair from the work group 3 from the International Panel of Climate Change. The IPCC is a group of more than 3,000 scientists, experts, which analyze the climate change and give the politicians the opportunities to change the way. The IPCC have won in 2007 also the Nobel Peace Prize together with Al Gore, and Diana Oege-Vorsatz was one of them. So what we have seen before over the last 800,000 years, you can see here now about the last 160 years that the temperature rise up by around 1 degree now all over the world. It's differently from country to country. On the pole, on the Arctic, it's much more. Also in Austria, it rises up by 2 degrees. Also, the weather condition changed. In the last 50 or 60 years, you can see we have parts where it's much more rainy and parts where it's much more dry. Like in Spain and Portugal, over the last 60 years, it's the rain goes down by 25%. And now is the question, what will happen in the future? What we have to do that we can change this bad way? You see the past, and there are many different scenarios. In the moment, we are on the red way, which means that the temperature will rise up by 6 to 8 degrees. And that is not a condition for this planet, which will be very fine. I think no one of us wants this. So all the politicians worldwide, for them it's clear we have to come to a way, we have to do a turnaround to come to a way where the temperature rises up only between 1.5 degrees in maximum to 2 degrees, because if it's higher, we cannot handle this planet any longer. And we have no planet P. We have only one planet to stay here. You see what will happen when the temperature will rise higher. It got much warmer everywhere as we are now. And as well, the dry regions, like also here in Spain, will become more drier and others more rainy and stormy. It looks like if we humans are the same like the frog in the gradually heating water bottle, discussing about climate change, that it got warmer and warmer, but no problem, we will sit in and do nothing. Since to this time where we will die, we don't realize that it's our end when we don't spring out of this bottle hot water. And that is the same which the humans are doing. So can we still keep warming at 2 degrees? So the scientists from IPCC have designed many different scenarios. Without mitigation, we will rise up the temperature by 3 to, here standing 4.8 degrees, that's the official paper, but I can tell you, I'm not from the IPCC, the real situation will come up to 6 or 7 degrees on the way we are in the moment, when we don't turn around. So we have to do a real turnaround and come down with our CO2 emissions worldwide, if by end of this century we will have a situation that the Earth heat up only by 1.5 degrees. But it have to change our business, our life totally. We have to think how we can do it, and there are much options in reality. You see also from different countries the situation. We know that China is now growing up very, very fast with the CO2 emissions, and they have the highest emissions in summary, but if you look the emissions per capita per person, then you see US is any longer doubled than China and Europe. Portugal is like a little bit below the typical European CO2 emission per capita. So very energy efficient buildings have a key role to mitigate climate change. That is the good news, and this is what you can be part of them, because buildings have one of the highest emissions. We have around, in summary, 32 CO2 emissions of the total, 32% of the total energy demand. Also more than 50% of the total electricity consumption are coming from the building sector. And we have to know that since 1970, the emissions have doubled in the building sector. And when we don't change, it will double or triple in the next time. So we have the solution that very energy efficient buildings have a very high mitigation potential. And that is the most important point, it will be this potential with the lowest cost to reduce the CO2 emissions. So it's the most important part of all sectors I will show you afterward also. And as well, how I show you with the first slide, with the pupils in the school, there are many co-benefits. So the climate inside the school, the climate in your house, the comfort will become much higher when you use much less energy. Buildings can play a very important, large role in reaching the ambitious climate goals. And here you have now some details from the IPCC report, from the last one. There are different two scenarios. That the yellow one means that the CO2 emission, I told you, in the last 800 years it was always between 180 and 280 ppm. Here we spoke if the CO2 emissions will be between 500 and 650 ppm, so a not very well situation. And the blue one shows between 430 and 530 ppm. And so here the transport scenario has the biggest potential, but when we look here in detail, we can see that by also 2030, we can do much more than the official studies have analyzed in the past. And we are here by passive house standards, where we can reduce much lower the emissions, and that is the potential of this passive house community, that we have to act in a very strong way to come forward. When we have a look all over the world, you see these different sectors, from single-family houses, multi-family houses, commercial buildings. In the next 50 years, the worldwide floor area will grow up year by year, because more and more people stay on this planet, so they need space as well. So we have three scenarios the business as usual scenario where the energy demand also will rise up as the floor area, or we have two scenarios, a moderate scenario or a deep scenario where on the end we can reduce by 30% this energy consumption. But with that, what I showed before, we can reduce also by 50% the CO2, the energy emissions. How I told before, the building sector is this sector from energy supply, transport, building, industry, agriculture, forest and waste, where you can, with the less invest money and with the cheapest price per ton CO2 reduction, reach the most reduction potential. So it's really up to you to pick up this big opportunity for your business and make, I can say, make well business, make the best business, but do it only in the best way. Yeah, as well, there was a study also from the Center University in Budapest, from Diana Oeger-Vorsatz, where they analyzed from different projects of retrofitting how much they retrofit. So this is the baseline where from the old building, and if you reduce by 10%, 20%, 50%, or 80 or 90% the CO2 emissions, and how much, and the energy consumption, and how much this conservation energy costs per kilowatt hour. And it shows that on the end, it's better as much you save energy, it's the cheapest way. Because if you invest the retrofit only to save 10 or 20% energy, the saving energy costs per kilowatt hours are very high. If you make it in a perfect way, on the end it's much more cheaper. And I can say, it's not my slides, it's from Diana, I can say for myself, we have done the first retrofits in the Austria to Passivhaus standard, and it works from the first day for the owners that it's very cost economic for themselves. There is another study which was done by the United Nations where they analyzed worldwide for all the continents two scenarios, a moderate scenario and a deep scenario. A deep scenario means that all technical solutions which exist in the moment, all the best solutions, like in the building sector, the Passivhaus standard and Enerfit standard or Passivhaus standard by retrofitting will realize what it will cost on the end. And it shows, if you take a look all over the world, in both scenarios, for a deep or moderate scenario, we have invested nearly the same money. But the saving energy cost we save are by the deep scenario more than doubled as by the moderate scenario. And that is, I cannot understand how crazy our whole politicians worldwide are. That they invest always in a moderate scenario. That no one of them are strong enough and say, we go the right way, we want to earn the most money. And it's the best way to make a strict regulation. But later I can show you there exist some politicians. Needs to go to the highest level, Diana Oeger-Vorsatz says. We have to come to building energy efficient programs and policies to encourage only the highest energy level. Yeah? If we do only a shallow retrofit, it's better to wait if we have money enough to make it also in a deep renovation. Because you have to understand, each building you retrofit now or build new in the worst way, it will stand over the next 40, 50 years without any retrofit to a more energy efficient standard. So it's much later than 2050 that you will change the energy demand of this building the next time. So make it only in the best way. That is very important. Also that the politicians create only support systems which work in this way. And you can see that it works and that it's possible. Two examples here only. On the left side, the city of Brussels, or not the city, the region of Brussels, which is much bigger than the city alone, where since the beginning of this year, from the 1st January of 2015, each new building has to be built in Passivhaus standard in minimum. And for retrofittings, the criteria are much stronger from my side. Totally retrofits, they have to retrofit to Passivhaus standard plus 20% energy consumption. It's a very strong goal, and Brussels works any longer. Many lobbyists have said, oh, it will stop whole the business. Nothing will happen any longer. No, I can tell you, Brussels works very well, and also this regulation works very well. And on the same way now New York City is. Here you see the Mayor de Blasio by the opening from the first high-rise building in New York, and they will force very strongly now the Passivhaus standard. They focus totally, because you have to know, in the city of New York, more than 75% of the whole energy consumption is coming only from the building sector. So without energy efficient in this sector, they have no chance to reach any climate goals. So move from niche market to the standard practice. It's up to you to build only in Passivhaus standard, to design only in Passivhaus standard. In order to keep climate change below dangerous levels, the Passivhaus community needs to take an active role, yeah? So, let's make a test. Stand up. Are you active? Oh, stand up, please. Stand up. Show that we can do it, yeah? Okay, yes? Okay, so I'm sure you will do it. We have really to understand, we have to have it in our head, in our feet, we have to run for that, yeah? And sorry, I have to say, we can close now the conference because we have to start directly now and not later. We have no time to wait. And we have to come to deep renovations with low costs. We have also to be careful that we have no lock-in effect, that the Passivhaus standard is the standard which have no lock-in effect. If you make a conventional renovation, you will have also always a big lock-in effect. We need more demonstration projects for low investments, for low income, and I will show you one example. We need to report emissions also including the electricity, and the Passivhaus have to come from the niche market to the standard. So the Passivhaus community have to be an active role in lobbying to come to very ambitious building codes. And if we do not in this way from today, each new building constructed in an energy wasting manner or retrofit to a suboptimal level will lock us into a high climate footprint future, Diana Rügeforsat says. And I think this city is on the same level like New York, and I hope you don't like a future like you can see here. So let's have only some examples. You can see that Portugal is in a much more lucky climate regions, so you need only 50% of the insulation level and quality of a Passivhaus as in Austria. You have here one example from Vienna. We have here building costs from 1,450 euro per square meter. These are the typical costs for conventional buildings as well, but this is built in Passivhaus standard. There was a study in Austria of all the multi-family houses built in Passivhaus standard that are the green points, and the blue points are low energy buildings, and you can see there is no directly difference. Only if you build the building more compact, the building costs go down. But now in 2000, these are buildings from 2008 to 2010. But now this year we have finished the pop-up dorms with 1,300 euro, not so compact, and you can see with a very low cost. This is the example. This student dorm for 40 students we have built up in 6 days, including the bed, the tables, the chair, everything. We have built it in Passivhaus standard. We have built it with jalousies, which all mostly kicked out because it's too expensive, so that also in summer it works well, and with wooden facade, but we don't need more than 1,300 euro. And if you say you have no money here in Portugal because you are much more poor, your income is lower, you are right, you have only the half of the Austrians around, yeah? But our heating costs in a single family house by 2,200 euro. Here, if you want it warm, you have around 1,500 euro because your energy costs are same or higher than by us in Austria. So it's much more important for you to reduce your energy demand of the buildings by 90%, because then with 70 euro for apartment or 170 for a single family house, you can have it warm inside, because in the moment around 40% have no money to pay their heating bill in Portugal. So I want to start together with the European Commission Portugal master plan for Portugal energy revolution. I want to give you only 10 billion euros over the next 20 years. It's not much money. The banks become it in 1 week and do nothing with them. We want to retrofit with this money over the next 20 years buildings when they realized energy efficient of 85%. Then they become 100 euro per square meter subsidies. But in the same way, the government of Portugal can earn $6 billion euros of taxes, and in energy saving 47 billion euros. So also the Portuguese will earn 17 billion euros. It's a win-win situation, and it works much better than here in Austria, where totally retrofit costs around 600 euro. It costs here for the more lucky climate, and the cheaper building costs always 350 euro or 60 euro around. And the payback time for the energy investment is in 8 years, while in Austria it needs 14 years. After 20 years, you have earned 200 euro per square meter. So it's a win-win situation. It works here, like the first building retrofit of a school building in Austria, we reduced 90% from 55,000 cubic meter natural gas to 47 cubic meter wood pellets. It's like a single family house consumption. And the payback time was here against conventional renovation 5 years, against to do nothing 11 years. So all over Europe, more and more front-runner regions exist. Also first one, how we hear it in Portugal. In summary, with 42 million inhabitants in Europe, and passive houses grow up now all over Europe. I think here somewhere, Portugal also. And so on the end, that's my own house. I can tell you it's really cool, because the sex in the passive house is much better than in a conventional house. You have always fresh air inside. It works much better, I can tell you. And you have no dust, no insects. And yeah, on the end, you're much more relaxed. You're much more free for new ideas. And so that is what Diana will tell you. You have here the contact of her, and what I will tell you as well. Thank you very much, and hope we will start now.
Thank you, Günter. Temos tempo aqui para uma ou duas questões que queiram colocar. Se eu sempre posso traduzir, se tiverem alguma questão. Okay. It seems no questions, Günter, coming. Tell me just one thing. What about, Günter, what about retrofitting? Does it pose as a problem for the Passivhaus solution, how is the, in terms of solutions that exists now in the market, you have the experience I saw in the presentation, compared with that, because retrofitting is really the new market that we have here, and this balance between...
On the International Passivhaus database from the Passivhaus Institute, you can find 3,500 Passivhaus projects which are realized. Much more, we have 60,000 now worldwide, but 3,500 are in the database. And when you look for retrofits, you will find around 220, 250 retrofits to Passivhaus standard or Enerfit standard. It works as well. It's a little bit delay against the new buildings. That's absolutely normal because it's much easier to do it in a new way. But I focused mostly on retrofit project because here you can save the first project we have done, 97% of the energy demand. 97%. And it's cost effective from the first day for the owner. Yeah, it's up to you to design it in the right way that it works. Yeah.
And wait for a deep retrofitting to do it. Yeah, as it's always. Okay, thank you very much.